I'm Myrtice, and I received the Carlston Family Foundation Award in 2004. And at that time, I was actually teaching at Monte Vista High School, which is in San Diego County in Spring Valley, California, the eastern part of the county. And I was teaching, I was teaching English, and I was teaching AVID, and I was teaching reading at the time. So the reason I went into teaching has a lot to do with personal experiences, and also I guess I could say it's actually a lot more personal probably than I even recognize sometimes. But I actually was an English major first, which a lot of times people say in high schools you become that major first and then you decide to teach. So I was an English major, and because I love to read, that's always been something that I've done well at, and wasn't my original major. I actually started as a business major, which I like to do in practice, but not in terms of what was required educationally. So I went into, I always did well at English, and I decided to major in English. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to teach, so what I did was ended up going to work in classrooms. I got hired as an AVID tutor and a tutor for students who were struggling academically. And that experience was definitely key to my decision to teach. I really connected with kids in high school. Prior to that, I had actually volunteered at an elementary school and didn't connect as well to students. When I got to the high school, I connected very well. I identify with the students who were struggling, and I identify with AVID students who happen to be kids in the middle who just need some support. So they're, achieving at a middle level primarily. That was me as a high school student, sometimes struggling with some other things. So depending on what the content was, depending on where I was performing. And so when I saw those students and understood how I could impact them as a tutor, and then I watched the teachers who taught those classes who were really good teachers, that is what basically inspired me to become a teacher. And entered the credential program shortly after that. I only worked there a year. And I was working actually at Monte Vista, so that's the same school I ended up getting hired on as a teacher. So, and those same teachers ended up being unofficial mentors for me, which was wonderful. One of them was my master teacher. My first semester student teaching actually was not a good experience, which is sad to say. And it's fortunate for me that I had the experience already in a year out of school working, because if I had not, I think I would have been totally discouraged. The students were great. I was in an EL classroom. They were wonderful kids, but the master teacher that I had was not so great. And in fact, I thought it was me the whole way through. And it was much to my relief when my coach from the university said to me in the end, "What was the deal with that teacher?" So that helped me understand that it wasn't just me. There was more to that situation. And so for that reason, because she said that, and because I knew I was going to go to where I was going next, which is a high school that I'd actually worked at, and who I was going to have, one of my master teachers was actually going to be the teacher I worked for. That was helpful. And then I had another master teacher who I didn't know at all, and they had completely different styles. And my coach at San Diego State she was really, really helpful when you're in a class of 38 ninth graders teaching. And that's probably one of the hardest grades. It was definitely training ground for classroom management. So I think relationships is number one. If you don't build relationships with kids, with the community and the families you serve, it's really hard to get to the work of teaching. So if they know you care, then there's a profound difference in what you can get from kids and families than if they don't know that. And also building some support systems for yourself, even if there are none. So finding folks on your campus who could be supportive, who are like-minded and trying to really serve and support kids in the community is really important. I feel like I've been fortunate in education that, you know, as I said earlier, and I tell Tim this, and I was telling you earlier, that I went to San Diego State, where I was well prepared. I don't know that everybody got that foundation. And fortunately, I had people in my life at good times that actually helped me. So, as a first generation, it makes me emotional. As a first generation college student, that was key. I'm youngest of 5 and the first to go to college. So I didn't know what I was doing. That's key. And so I identified with those kids who are struggling with the same thing. And I wanted them to have the chances I had, which is an opportunity to learn. And if they so chose, go on to post-secondary education. If not, at least they got the education they needed while they were in my presence to go on and do whatever it was they wanted to do next.